bill. Who is leading us from the department? Maybe as they are still connecting, are there any apologies?
Sorry, Chair, Stevia, I need to leave early, unfortunately. My apologies. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any other apology? Committee Secretary?
Good morning, Chair. We don't have any apology.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Can we proceed, Department of Justice?
Morning, Chair and honorable members. My name is Tietze, Civilian Major. My colleague, Rekho Barlow, is going to be assisting us with making the presentation on the responses. The overall responses in general we received, it's 58 from the public comments that were forwarded to us, and we have summarized the essence of the comments, and basically the majority is in support of the bill and eagerly waiting for the amendment, and there are some few that my colleague Rekho, if the chairperson permits, will be taking through in terms of the concerns, though in support they are raising, and the responses that we have for those, Chair. Thank you. If I may hand over to my colleague, Chair, with your permission.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chair, and other members of the committee. As my colleague mentioned, my name is Rohumodiso Baloi, and I will be taking you through the comments that we have received from the comments that have come through to the portfolio committee. So we received 58 public comments, and of those comments, most of them were in support of the amendment, and almost all commentators noted that the recognition of South African Sign Language as a 12th official language would, amongst other things, empower the deaf community, and it would also promote the inclusion of the deaf community and those who are hard of hearing. It would improve their inclusion in society and would also improve accessibility to social services, education, healthcare, and the likes. Just a few comments that I would like to highlight is one comment that we received that said that sign language should be utilized in the workplace as well. This comment is noted by the department, and we would just like to comment on that to say that the amendment of sign language as an official language, as a 12th official language, was promoted on the basis that each department would make funds available to implement the amendment. Another comment we received was from Mlungisi Zwane, who noted that isiZulu, as used by the deaf and hard of hearing communities, both in speech and writing, is used in KwaZulu-Natal, which has its Zulu culture, traditions, history, identity, and values, as well as clan names and praises. Now, in his comments, he noted that LQZ, which is Ulimi Longqwebo Zulu, is the home language for some users, as opposed to South African Sign Language, which is mostly English. And to this, the department responds to say that we note the comment, and as well as the comments regarding the position of the Pan-South African Language Board. However, we also agree that sign language is not a universal language, and we acknowledge that each country has its own sign language and regions have dialects. much like many languages spoken all over the world. So the department in this regard is of the view that the comments do not necessarily necessitate changes to the bill as it currently stands. And this would be a matter to take forward in the development of the language once the amendment passes. And then there was another comment received from Lawrence and Swart's attorneys, and this comment, yes, from C. Lawrence, from Lawrence and Swart's attorneys. This comment supported the amendment. However, it made a couple of comments, and those comments included the fact that the factual position is that English is the only official language, and that the government failed to actualize African language official status in terms of Section 6.2 of the Constitution. And further, a comment was made to suggest that the adoption of a charter for sign language with a few adjustments as a charter in terms of Section 234 of the Constitution, and this charter will give real contents to the linguistic human rights and language rights of South African Sign Language users. The department in this respect recognizes that all official languages enjoy parity of esteem, and there is no one official language that is seen to be above another. Further, the Pan-South African Language Board is constitutionally mandated to promote and create conditions for the development and use of all official languages. So the development of a charter is not a matter to be addressed in the amendment bill, but it can be a secondary issue that is taken forward once the amendment passes. And then just to go on, Chair, there was also another comment from Professor Theodorus Du Plessis from the Department of South African Sign Language and Dev Studies from the University of the Free State. In his submission, the professor notes that the officialization of South African Sign Language will change little about the position of South Africa's community with hearing loss. He also goes on further to state that there are already 11 official languages, and this is much more than the international norm of maximum of 3 official languages, and is practically speaking an impracticable ideal in a country with many challenges. Adding a 12th language to the picture and thinking it's workable borders on wishful thinking. We don't manage to make the 11 official languages work already in our current state. He also went on further to say that the officialization of South African Sign Language is not the appropriate response to the acute distress of the community with hearing loss on various fronts, and that it does not, in fact, create false expectations among this community about the role of the 12th official language in South Africa. He suggests that the request for the officialization of South African Sign Language can be dealt with more effectively by the drafting of a separate language law for South African Sign Language in the same vein as was recently done for Dutch Sign Language in the Netherlands. To this, the department notes the concerns raised. However, it is our view that, again, the Pan-South African Language Board has a constitutional mandate of promoting and creating conditions for the development of all official languages and other languages recognized in Section 6.5 of the Constitution. in this regard, the recognition of South African Sign Language as an official language is a step towards realizing persons who are hard of hearing's rights to equal enjoyment of rights and human dignity. It will also promote the inclusion, substantive equality, and prevent or eliminate unfair discrimination on the ground of disability. So we therefore note that this amendment isn't one that would necessarily change the contents of the bill as it stands. And Chair, that was the bulk of the comments that we received, and the comments which are highlighted now, or majority of those are what the department thought a need to respond to more in depth. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Members, are there any comments? Or questions?
Chair, I'm just struggling with my hand.
Yeah, I also have the same problem. I have Honorable Nivot Tochen, Honorable Maseko Chele, Honorable Yako, in that order. Honorable Nivot Tochen.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to everybody on the platform, to my colleagues, and to the members of the deaf community who have joined in on this meeting. Good morning to all of you. And thank you to the department for your presentation, for your summary. It's a pity you didn't show your summary at the beginning as you started, you only showed it at the end. And I would like to say, because the network wasn't so great last week, I just want to go back to Mr. Zwane's presentation last week. My network connection was also quite bad then, and I had asked him, you know, we know that there are different dialects, you know, also in the different deaf schools, there might be dialects with separate schools, regional dialects, and we can incorporate. So what we were saying to him is that all of those dialects are incorporated into South African Sign Language. They are acknowledged, they are respected as regional dialects. But for all this time, the deaf community has been lobbying for South African Sign Language to become an official language. We've always taken the dialects into account. And then in terms of Professor Du Plessis, he said that he was not speaking on behalf of the university during the presentations, and because again, as I was struggling with network, I thought that he was speaking on behalf of the university, and then he said that he is not speaking on behalf of the University of the Free State. He said, and the contact person said he's retired, so he's not speaking on behalf of the university. And I know that the Department of the University of the Free State, South African Sign Language and Deaf Studies, they have been lobbying for South African Sign Language to be to become an official language. And they already started last year, you know, promoting sign language, teaching sign language classes. So I was quite surprised that, you know, the professor himself, who's not in the, who's in the university, but is, you know, seemingly presenting the opposite position of the university. So that was a great pity. But much of the deaf community has lobbied for many years to have South African Sign Language as an official language. Didn't really have questions. It was more comments that I was presenting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Nivot Tochen. But I think my understanding is that the professor was speaking, was representing himself. He would have, if he was speaking on behalf of the university, even the presentation would have said University of Free State. So it was him in his personal capacity. And I asked him, and then he confirmed that he was speaking for himself, and he is allowed to have views different from that of the institution, unless it is specifically indicated that he's speaking on behalf of the institution. Thank you, Honorable Nubot Tuchan. Honorable Masaba.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good morning, colleagues, and also good morning to the department and everybody on the platform. Chair, can I be allowed not to open this? I'm busy with the preparations as I'm going to do something at the parliament. So my time is limited. So Chair, I think Honorable Velma covered me a bit on explaining on the presentation of Mr. Zwane. I think, Chairperson, I just want the department just to make me clear. It's unfortunate that one does not have a lot of information on matters of sign language, and it limit one's contribution. But we, in line with the presentations, one would have a question. What are we what sign language? We're saying it's South African Sign Language, and the department is agreeing that this South African sign language, in fact, Honorable Velma says it does consider the dialects and the concern of Mr. Zwane. So what are we officializing here, Chair? Is it English as a sign language? That is my question. You'll pardon me, I said I'm not sure exactly about other things within the community of Earth. Much as I agree with the notion that it has to be officialized, and also the department has just confessed that the matters of developing these other languages, it lies with the, is it the commission or the organization that is tasked with the responsibility to do that, the pen language. I can't, where I am now, I can't say it exactly, but I know it's a pen language something. So, but I'm saying, Chair, up to where we are right now, at the point where we have to officialize the sign language, what is the committee, the department, maybe if it can tell us, because they're saying these issues will be sorted after this. What has been happening, Chair, that makes these issues to be delayed, so that we're having people like Mr. Zwane that are not happy with their dialect not being taken to the level where they are also satisfied? Because right now we're supposed to be just going smooth. If those issues were, and we wouldn't have, even if people want to this officialized, but maybe some of these consent would have been limited. So, Chair, it really takes me to the point of the department to assist us also. How is the views of Honorable are going to be? Because maybe that's where the answer might be in terms of if we can follow also the rules, the views that were presented by the professor, which are not in line with maybe the view that the sign language we should in fact, from what I heard, it was like he advocate for the act more than anything. I might be mistaken. So I'm saying, Chair, what are we doing here? Are we officializing English as a language, a sign language? Or maybe you'll assist me because the expert knows exactly maybe what I'm trying to say, because it is like we're having different sign languages, but English is the predominantly one because the signs that we are having maybe talks to the language English more than talking to the language of other, in fact, other languages. Thank you, Chair. Let me just pause there.
Thank you, Honorable Yako.
Thank you so much, Chair. I was wondering because I think from when this bill was introduced, we spoke about how long coming how long it's been coming and how it's only coming now and how unfortunate that is, and now we need to expedite it. However, I heard the department speak of other layers of law that need to be added to this, that may need to be added to this bill. And have they then thought of that? Because it would not be effective for us to put out a bill or a policy out there that would then incorporate sign language as another official language in this country, if it's then not going to be fully covered, or the spectrum of it is not going to be fully covered for everyone who's going to then benefit from it. So I was just wondering, has the department thought of what other laws that may need to be added to this bill? And if so, what are they? And what are the loopholes to us then legislating this bill only for it to not benefit those it's supposed to benefit? Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other hands from the members? None. Over to you, Department of Justice.
Apologies, Chair. Honorable Nyodruchen has her hand raised again.
Honorable
If I can assist Honorable Jayla, if that's okay with you, Chair.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much. I would like to assist Honorable Jayla and as well to the other members just to clarify, the issue of South African Sign Language, and perhaps this will assist. So well before 1994, probably 30, 40 years before 1994, deaf schools were set up in South Africa, and there were 42 schools for deaf children. I'm talking about the major schools. So there's a school in Worcester, Deliberations. They use British Sign Language originally, and that has changed a lot. And British Sign Language would use the alphabet use the two-handed alphabet, and as time went on, they used the school then started using the one-handed alphabet like everybody does. St. Vincent School for the Deaf is in Gauteng, and there's Fulton School for the Deaf in KZN. They were predominantly white schools in the past, also used British Sign Language. The school that I went to, and there's also another school in Hammanskraal, which was set up by Irish nuns who then brought Irish Sign Language. So these languages have developed and changed over time from the original languages that were brought to this country. So Mr. Mzwane, the school that he attended to via Nike, and the school that he went to in Durban, it was during apartheid time. So nobody wanted to assist that school, with a sign language. So the predominantly white schools did not want to, give a sign language or implement a sign language. So then the principal and the deputy principal went to the University of Gallaudet, university that is my alma mater. They stayed there and they learned American Sign Language. Okay. And then they brought back American Sign Language, and that's what they taught in the school. Today, this American Sign Language as used in VN Nike School is completely different to American Sign Language American Sign Language as it's used today. So all these languages are not the same as the original. So BSL in Britain and what they use in Vienna school is completely different today. And so all these languages that have developed in the schools have now developed to become South African Sign Language. After 1994, when there was freedom of movement, you know, the schools and the children could integrate more, meet each other more. And as they, you know, interacted, the school, the language developed even further. So there's nothing like Afrikaans Sign Language or English Sign Language. And yes, there are dialects, there are regional dialects, exactly like Mr. Mzwane says, you know, LQZ, what he calls it. But it's also in South African Sign Language. The dialect is within South African Sign Language. And we've been asked for many years, you know, about South African Sign Language being an official language. We know in the Constitution it's recognized as sign language, but it should be what we've been advocating for is that South African Sign Language becomes recognized as a language, official language on the same level. And what the professor is proposing is different to what the deaf community wants, because the South African Sign Language becoming an official language puts it on the status of an official language and not just another language. It's very difficult to explain, Honorable Jele, and I'm sorry to have to do it so quickly, but I hope that you've picked up something from my quick explanation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Silkstone.
Can the Secretary please unpin Honorable Wilmer?
Yeah, my question is just a technical question, and perhaps the department can just let us know, are there any consequential amendments that they foresee from this bill?
Okay, thank you very much. Over to the department.
Thank you, Chair and Honorable members. Maybe just to build on to the explanation given by Honorable Drachen, is the example with Sepedi or Northern Sotho. There are different dialects within the language itself. But when we go and study, there is a more of a common language that we study in schools. So the development of the language, as explained as well, has come through a number of years in which we have got our own specific kind of a specific language. And the PENSALP, as we indicate, is given the responsibility in terms of the Constitution to develop all languages. So sign language is one of those that they will have to continue to develop to make sure that the recognition is not as simply just to say it's recognized. And just to indicate on the Professor Du Plessis as well, the confirmation in terms of the submission, it does indicate we only recognize because he had said he's a professor at the university, but not that he's representing the university. And as well, if we go to Honorable Yako's question, the issue of the charter was mentioned in the comment and not necessarily as we respond. So there isn't anything else from our side that we think is a layer that still needs to be built into the bill or anything to incorporate sign language. So as it is, the Constitution, as if amended as it is, will be recognizing the South African Sign Language. And the issues of development is something that is dealt with separately by the responsible body, PENSALP. And as well, the issue about whether there is no any other consequential amendment, we don't have any consequential amendment that we have received, and in fact, or we foresee, sorry. And also in respect of the comments that we received, the only suggestion that was made was by Mr. Zwane, but as we responded, we are saying that will be sort of recognizing dialects. And if we do so, that's going to affect all other languages because there are dialects in every language that is already the other 11 official languages that are already recognized. So we, in our view, there is no need to make any consequential amendment or any amendment to the bill as it is currently standing. And just, sorry, Chair, my colleagues just drew me to another. Okay, no, I think she was drawing me to the attention of Professor Duplessis, which I've already indicated. Chair, other than that, we don't have any other comment unless we missed a question that we should be responding to. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sulibemecha. Members, are there any further comments or questions after receiving the responses from the department? Are we all satisfied with the responses we have received?
I think we are, Chair.
Yes, we're satisfied. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can I suggest, in fact, will there be an objection if I suggest that tomorrow we adopt the report on the amendment bill? Is there any party present here that is opposed to the 18th constitutional amendment, making sign language an official language?
No objection, Chair.
No objection. Honorable Breitenbach?
Honorable Chair, could you please repeat that? I'm sorry, my network is very bad.
Okay, I was saying that is there any party that has objections to the 18th constitutional amendment being made an official language, the sign language being made an official language?
Chair, no, we would of course have to take it to my caucus, but I can't imagine that we would have any objection.
Thank you very much. Honorable Yako?
Just the same with me, Chair. There would be no objections. However, obviously we have a caucus that we consult with. So yeah.
Thank you very much. So will it be correct maybe if we put it, if we adopt the report on Friday so that you can have Thursday to get proper mandates from the parties? Or would you want?
Yeah, Friday is fine.
Friday is fine. Okay, thank you. After we have dealt with the issue of the exemption certificates, then we will deal with the committee report on Friday. Thank you very much. There is also the IFP. Professor Msimang. Professor Msimang. Okay, now let's proceed. We will adopt it on Friday. We'll adopt the committee report on Friday. Thank you very much to the team from the department, for making the responses and making our work very easy. And thank you to the deaf community for your participation throughout the process and for attending today. We will finalize this bill at the committee level on Friday, and it will be ready to be debated in the House. Hopefully, all parties would agree, because we need a 2/3 majority to amend the Constitution. Hopefully, all other parties will be in agreement that we need to have the 12th language, which is a sign language. And we will finalize this particular process on Friday. Thank you very much. Can we now go to the minutes which have been circulated, and we will take them as being read?
Honorable Chair, may I interrupt you a moment, please?
Yes, Honorable Breitenbach.
I have please keep quiet. I have a matter that I need to take care of. May I be excused, please, early?
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, may we be excused
Yes,
from the department?
Yes, you are excused.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can we take a 3 minutes break to allow the department to flag the minutes? Oh, okay. No, we have the first set of minutes already. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 18th November 2022. Are there any pages on page 1? Are there any changes on page 1? Page 2? Page 3? Page 4? Page 5? Page 6? Page 7? Is there a mover for the adoption of the minutes?
Morning, Chair. I'll move.
Honorable Werner Horn moves. Any seconder?
Honorable Neo Druchen seconds, Chair.
Honorable Newport Rohan seconds. Any objections? No objections. The minutes are agreed to. The next set of minutes. Go up. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 23rd November 2022. Are there any corrections on page 1? Page 2? Page 3? Any mover for the adoption of the minutes?
Chair, I move for adoption of the minutes.
Honorable Jelle moves for the adoption of the minutes. Any
Honorable
seconder?
Neo Druchen seconds.
Honorable Newport Rohan seconds. Any objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 25th November 2022. Any corrections on page 1? On page 2? Page 3? On page 4? On page 5? Page 6? Is there a mover for the adoption of the minutes?
Chair, I move for
Honorable
adoption.
Neo Druchen moves for adoption, Chair.
Honorable Trohan moves. Any seconder?
I'll
I
second.
second. Oh,
Honorable Engelberg seconds. Any objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 29 November 2022. Deliberations on the Prevention and Combating of Hate Crimes and Hate Speech Bill. Any corrections on page 1? Page 3. Page 4. Any mover for the adoption of the minutes?
I'll move, Chair.
Honorable Bernahon moves. Any seconder?
Honorable Neo Druchen.
Honorable Neodrahan seconds. Any objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 29th November 2022. Deliberations on Prevention and Combating of Hate Crimes and Hate Speech Bill. Any corrections on page 1? Page
Honorable
2.
Neo Druchen has a hand up, Chair. Point 5, I'm not sure which page, but point 5, the second line.
We are not yet there. We're still on page 1.
Oh, my apologies, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any corrections on page 2? Page 2. Page 3. Honorable Niveau Trochen.
Okay, on point 5, where it says sign language, let me just check. Okay, where it says sign language, can you please put South African Sign Language? Just make that South African Sign Language. That's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there a mover for the adoption of the minutes as corrected?
Chair, I move for the adoption of minutes as corrected. Thank you.
Whichever moves for the adoption of the minutes. Any seconder?
Honorable Neo Druchen seconds, Chair.
Honorable Druchen seconds. Any objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Let's move to the next set of minutes. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 12 December 2022, progress report by the National Prosecuting Authority on issues to do with the Optimum Coal Mine. Any corrections on page 1? Page 2. Page 3. Is there a
Honorable Neo Druchen, sorry, Chair.
Honorable Neo Druchen.
I cannot see which page, but 3.4.
3.4, page 2.
Mineral resources and energy is doing. Members ask for more information on what the department is doing. That's it.
Thank you very
Thanks, Chair.
much. Thank you very much. Is there a mover for the adoption of the minutes as corrected?
Chair,
Honorable Leo Druchen moves for adoption, Chair.
Honorable Nivo Trechen moves. Any second?
and I second, Chair.
Honorable
I second.
Jele, any objections? No objections, minutes are agreed to. A draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 27th January 2023. Consideration of the committee briefing by the Department of Justice and Correction and Constitutional Development on the repeal of the transcript. Can you please unmute the person? Consideration of the committee program briefing by the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development on the repeal of the transcript penal code. Committee Secretary, can you remove the person? Please remove that person.
Thank you.
On the repeal of the transcript penal code and the Constitution 18th Amendment Bill, briefing by Mr. Honorable M.G. Hendricks, MP on the Maintenance Amendment Bill, Private Members Bill, Progress Report by the Department of Correctional Services on the introduction of JICS Bill. Any corrections on page 1? Page 2? Page 2, page 3? Page 3, page 4? Page 4, page 5? Any mover for the adoption of the minutes?
I'll move, Chair.
Honorable Werner Horn moves. In second.
Honorable Leo Druchen seconds, Chair.
Honorable Nivo Druchen seconds. Any objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 31st January 2023. Deliberations on the prevention and combating of hate crimes and hate speech bill. Any corrections on page 1? On page 2? Any mover for the adoption of the minutes?
Honorable
Chair.
Leo Druchen moves for adoption, Chair.
Honorable Nivo Druchen moves for the adoption. Any second?
Maseko Jele, second for the adoption, Chair.
Honorable Maseko Jele seconds the adoption of the minutes. Any objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 1st February 2023. Deliberations on the prevention and combating of hate crime and hate speech bill. Any corrections on page 1? Page 2? Page 3? Is there a mover for the adoption of the minutes?
Honorable Leo Druchen moves for the adoption of the minutes, Chair.
Honorable Nivo Druchen moves. Any second?
Maseko Jele, second the adoption, Chair.
Honorable second. Any objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Committee Secretary. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services. Committee Secretary.
I think there's some technical difficulties on the other side. I will try and assist there.
Can you flash the minutes?
Okay, Chair, let me.
Thank you very much. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 8 February 2023. Discussions with the Minister and the heads of institution on matters of mutual interest. Are there any corrections on page 1? Page 2? Page 2, page 3. Page 3, page 4. Page 4, page 5.
There's a hand, Chair. I think there was a hand from.
Oh, okay. From who? I can't see from this side.
Sorry, I was on the wrong page, Chair. My apologies.
Thank you very much. We're on page 4, page 5. Page 6.
Honorable Mayor Druchen has a hand up. Thank you, Chair. Under discussion, the last sentence does not make sense. As the PPSA would not be a going concern without additional funds, the matter of the PPSA's baseline would be discussed. Should it be as the PPSA, this would not be a going concern? I'm not sure.
Would not be a going concern without additional funds.
They would be a going concern, isn't it? Without additional funds, they would be a going concern. We should be worried if there's no additional fund.
I think it's more of an accounting language than English, Honorable Druchen.
Okay, okay.
Can the Secretary
but it would be a concern if there's no additional funds. The sentence sounds like it wouldn't be a concern if there's no additional funds.
No, the term going concern, I think, does not have an ordinary grammatical language. If you are not a going concern, which means you are technically insolvent.
Okay, all right, okay.
Now, Committee Secretary, can you also look at that and check it?
Yes, Chairperson, you are correct, and the highlighted part is the reformulated sentence.
Yes. Thank you very much. Let's proceed. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Any mover for the adoption of the minutes? Any mover for the adoption of the minutes?
I'll move.
Honorable Engelbrecht moves. Any seconder?
I second, Chair.
Honorable Jailer seconds. Any objection? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Let's move to the next set of minutes. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 10th February 2023. Deliberations on the repeal of the Transkei Penal Code. Any corrections on page 1? Page 2. Page 3. Any mover for the adoption of the minutes?
Chair, I move for the adoption of the minutes.
Honorable Masego Jele moves. Any seconder?
Honorable Neodruchen seconds.
Honorable Neodruchen seconds. Any objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 17th February 2022, supposed to be 2023. Consideration and adoption of the draft report on the repeal of the Transkei Penal Code Bill, briefing by the Judicial Inspectorate for Correctional Services on the Bail Fund Feasibility Report, and briefing by the Department of Correctional Services on the rollout and implementation of the e-correction system. Any corrections on page 1? Page 2? Page 3? Page 4. Is there a mover for the adoption of the minutes?
Honorable Neodruchen moves for the adoption of the minutes, Chair.
Honorable Neodruchen moves. Any seconder?
I'll second, Chair.
Honorable Bernahon seconds. Any objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 21 February 2023. Deliberations on the prevention and combating of hate crimes and hate speech bill. Any corrections on page 1? Page 2? Page 3? Page 4? Is there a mover for the adoption of the minutes?
Chair, I move for the adoption of the minutes.
Honorable Masego Jele moves. Any seconder? Any seconder?
Honorable Neodruchen seconds, Chair.
Honorable Neodruchen seconds. On objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 28 February. A workshop, African Criminal Justice Reformed NPA Annual Report, and how this can be used to improve the performance of the National Prosecuting Authority and strengthen the accountability relationship with Parliament. Any corrections on page 1? On page 1, page 2? Page 2? Any mover for the adoption of the minutes?
I'll move, Chair.
Honorable Varnahon moves. Any seconder?
I second, Chair.
Honorable Maseko Chele seconds. Any objections? No objections.
Apologies, Chair. As Honorable Neuhodruchen, I had a correction. If you could just, after adoption of the agenda, there's a correction for after adoption of the agenda. Oh, it was already fixed. Okay, sorry about that. It was already repaired. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Is there any objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 1st March 2023, Workshop Day 2, Africa Criminal Justice Reform, NPA Annual Reporting, and how this can be used to improve the performance of the National Prosecuting Authority and strengthen the accountability relationship with Parliament. Are there any corrections on page 1? Page 2? Move for the adoption of the minutes.
Honorable Neuhodruchen moves for adoption of minutes, Chair.
Neuhodruchen moves for the adoption of the minutes. Any seconder?
I'll second, Chair.
Honorable Varnahon seconds. Any objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 2nd March 2023. Adoption of the committee report on the prevention and combating of hate crimes and hate speech bill. Any corrections on page 1? On page 2? Any move for the adoption of the minutes?
Chair, I move for the adoption of the minutes.
Honorable Chele moves for the adoption of the minutes.
Honorable Neuhodruchen seconds, Chair.
Honorable Neuhodruchen seconds. Any objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 7 March 2023. Public hearings on the Constitution 18th Amendment Bill. Are there any corrections on page 1? On page 1, page 2? Page 3? Any mover for the adoption of the minutes?
Honorable Neuhodruchen moves, Chair. But apologies, there is a correction. I raised my hand too slowly. Before I adopt on 2.1. The Deaf Federation of South Africa. It's Deaf Federation of South Africa. And then 3.3. On 3.3, the third bullet. The second line. It says time to sow. It says time to do so. So there's a the that's missing.
Thank you very much.
The is a mistake. There's a mistake.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Is there a mover for the adoption of the minutes as corrected?
I move, Chair, Honorable Nieuwhout-Rugen.
The neighbor Trukhan moves in a second.
Chair, I second.
Honorable Maseko Jele seconds. Any objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to. Draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, 8 March 2023. Continuation of public hearings on the Constitution 18th Amendment Bill and briefing by the Department on Legal Practice Regulations. Too fast. Continuation of the public hearings on the Constitution 18th Amendment Bill and briefing by the Department on Legal Practice Regulations on the Community Service and Elections. Any corrections on page 1? Page 2. Page 3. Any mover for the adoption of the minutes?
Oh, Chair, I move for the adoption of the minutes. My apology, I was trying to get to the voice.
Honorable Nieuwhout-Rugen seconds.
Honorable Maseko Jele moves for the adoption of the minutes. Any seconders? Honorable Nieuwhout-Rugen.
I second, Chair.
Honorable Nieuwhout-Rugen seconds. Any objections? No objections. Minutes are agreed to.
Objection.
Hello. The next set of minutes.
Chairperson, we're done.
Thank you very much. Tomorrow, how is our day tomorrow? Can you just write the program for tomorrow? So we have done the reports, and so they responses. So tomorrow we'll be doing the responses on the maintenance bill by the Department of Justice. Is that correct?
It is correct, Chair.
So the others we have dealt with them. Thank you very much.
I think the report on the 18th Amendment, you deferred it to Friday.
Yes.
And then maybe we can adopt reports on the regulations.
Oh, yes. We can.
Okay.
We will adopt a report on the regulations and the set responses by the department to submissions on the maintenance bill. That will be the program for tomorrow. And then on Friday, it will be a RECA, certificate of exemption, and a consideration of the committee report on the Constitution 18th Amendment Bill. Then next week we would not meet. on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then we will meet on the 28th, when we would be going to the Northwest. Are there any issues for the oversight trip that we would want to bring to our attention, Committee Secretary?
Chair, so far the JP Northwest has confirmed that he will meet with us. I'm still waiting for confirmation from JP Mlam.
Okay. Then the other issue, we were supposed to meet with the Chief Justice on the 31st. The Office of the Chief Justice came back to us. They are proposing 2 dates. Is the 5th of May and which date, Committee Secretary?
The second one is 26th April.
26th April. We are recommending the 5th of May, members, to be the day that we would meet with the Chief Justice. Will that be in order?
Yes.
Sorry,
Chair.
what day, Chair?
The 5th of May.
Oh, that's fine.
Because we would want also to have gone through this oversight report, because one thing that will come out clear is the state of infrastructure. I think the Chief Justice would raise that. So we would want to have enough time to prepare. So the 5th of May would be in order. Committee Secretary, if you can communicate with the Speaker's office and the Office of the Chief Justice that we agree to the 5th of May.
Noted, Chair.
So all members for the trip, is there any member who does not have tickets or who has logistical problems that she or he wants to bring to our attention?
There's a hand from Mr. Onche.
Honorable Horn.
Yes, Chair. I maybe just wanted to confirm I have conveyed to Vunani that unfortunately, because the trip was now sort of pushed on, or let's say pushed out with a day, that would now mean that the committee will only, I think, arrive back in Gauteng during the day on Thursday, and that has now unfortunately necessitated that the decision on my part and the Honourable Breitenbach, that because we have that commitment from early on the Thursday, it wouldn't make sense to try and join the first 2 days then, from both a logistical and a cost perspective. On the Friday, however, we are free and we are in Gauteng, so we will make touch base with Vunani and Sia to, on our own accord, then try and slot in for the activities on the Friday. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Our apologies, Honourable Horn. Generally, we are always inconvenienced by Parliament. We had this trip, in fact, we had planned for this trip for January, and we had to cancel because there was a House Chair of Chairs workshop that was called, and we were told that in fact, no apologies would be accepted. We cancelled, we had to redo the program, and then it was cancelled after we had cancelled our program. And then the following time, it was again cancelled. When we had agreed on this program, then we were told that we must attend that program and no apologies will be accepted. And then we had to negotiate, and the only concession we could get is that we can be excused for the 28th, but for the 27th, we need to come. So it's an inconvenience to all members, which we apologize for, but it's something that is an inconvenience that is imposed on us by Parliament. So we do understand the apology from Honorable Horn and Honorable Breitenbach that they would have loved to be part of the trip, but they have been inconvenienced by the latest changes which were necessitated by the instructions from Parliament. Any other logistical problems from other members?
Chair.
Let's start with Honorable Yako.
Nkosi Chair, the arrangement that we did the last time, it's just that obviously this time it will be approved because obviously it's oversight, so I will be going.
Okay. Mr. Romano, can you attend to that? Bonani?
Yes, Chairperson, we have already submitted the necessary application and she is also covered.
Okay, thank you very much. There was also another voice that I heard. I can't see hands this side.
No, Chair, it was me, Chair. I think my issue will be in terms of this, how we're going to go there, because we are from Gauteng ourselves, and then maybe if we can be appraised on that issue, if the arrangement has already been done.
Thank you very much, Mr. Romano. Can you explain the arrangements where we meet on the 28th and how do we go to the Northwest and coming back?
Chairperson, I think we will have a group that will be flying from Cape Town. And then those who are based in Gauteng, we're going to meet them at the airport and then we drive to Mafeking. But there's just one issue that I need to check with my manager, whether members who are based in Gauteng can be transported to the airport or if they have to make their own transport arrangements. But I will inform them during the course of today.
What time do we meet on Tuesday, the 28th?
Chair, we're still finalizing we're still deciding on the flight, but it looks like we might be there around about 12 o'clock midday.
Will it be a flight from Joburg to Mafeking, or are we driving from Joburg to Mafeking?
No, we're driving from Joburg to Mafeking.
Okay. Please communicate to all of us as soon as you get the necessary information. Thank you very much, members.
Chair,
yes.
There's another hand from Mr. Engelbrecht.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Just if we can find or be sent the itinerary, I will be in Gauteng
Yes.
in that time so that I know exactly at what time and where to arrive at our Tambu so that we can then proceed to Mafeking, because I don't want to miss the bus or anything.
Yes. No, I think that information is crucial because I think some of us might wait at the international site and Bonani might be at the domestic site, and so we might miss each other. So that information is very crucial, and that during the course of this week, we receive all the itinerary to everybody so that we know what time. Also, it will also be influenced by the flights from Cape Town. Yeah, because members of the section 194 would be sitting, so I think it will be Honorable Yako from Cape Town. We're not sure about Honorable Swart, whether he is going with us. So generally it will be Honorable Yako.
From PE, Chair. From PE.
From PE.
Yeah.
And then yes, from PE, and then the committee secretaries from Cape Town. But it would be good that we don't travel late. At least by 12 o'clock, we should be leaving Johannesburg. We don't want to travel when it's late. I know that side, there are a lot of animals on the streets, so we need to travel early. So I think if we can leave, let's make sure that as we arrange, at least by 12 o'clock, we are all in at OR Tambo Airport. Thank you very much, members. We'll meet tomorrow. The meeting is adjourned.